So without further ado, why every company needs Lifecycle. Here's me, avoid this guy at all costs. I'm the director of Retention Lifecycle at ClickUp. If you don't know us, we're a SaaS product, task, project, work management, that's our bread and butter. I'm gonna talk a little bit about ClickUp. If I'm talking too much about ClickUp, shout, you're talking too much about ClickUp. Let me get a raise of hands. Who works in Lifecycle, knows what Lifecycle Marketing is? Generously, I'm gonna call that half. So for the other half, this is gonna explain what is this field, why is it super important, and really how Lifecycle can become one of the most important teams at your company. So to do that, we need to understand the challenges and opportunities that exist not only for Lifecycle, but for everybody, right, in this macroeconomic environment, which is a very nerdy thing to say, but that's the truth. So the first challenge is customer acquisition has gotten really expensive. To pay Google, to pay Facebook, to acquire customers, to run ads on their platform has gotten astronomically expensive. Comparing 2022 to 2023, I don't know where my little clicker is, we went from 16 months to 22 months for CAC payback. CAC payback is just a fancy way of saying how long does it take to recoup the cost of acquiring that customer. Not even breaking even on that customer, or that's breaking even, that's not getting a profit from that customer, that's literally just to pay back Google and Facebook. That's crazy, right? That is a massive opportunity for lifecycle marketing. Why? Paid media requires that you pay to interact with those customers. Once you get those customers, what lifecycle plays in, our channels are all free, right? So email, product, website, social, they're free in the sense that you can engage customers as much as you want. You can't annoy them, you can't get them to unsubscribe. But there's no incremental cost to engage customers, which is super important when the cost to acquire a customer has never been higher. So that's the first challenge and the first opportunity. The second is land and maintain. So again, nerdy graphs. What this is saying is compared to 2022 to 2023, for high revenue companies, it's become much harder to expand revenue from their current customer base. So a few years ago, it used to be all about getting a customer in the door, getting them to expand usage, so pay for more products, upgrade their plan, add more seats, whatever. That opportunity has dropped by about 25%, which is crazy. So now it's not really about expansion anymore, it's about retention of customers, right? Retention is king. That is a huge opportunity if you're in lifecycle marketing. Why? Because we focus on each stage of the customer journey, right? So it's not just about that initial monetization opportunity, it's not about that expansion opportunity, it's about each stage of the customer lifecycle, engaging customers, making them happy and making them successful with your brands, with your product, with your website, right? And then the last challenge is AI, automation, and personalization, right? This is nuts. This is like all the AI stuff, products, companies. I showed this slide to Iterable and they're like, wait, can we Photoshop Iterable on this? Because it wasn't on there, which is kind of a funny thing to ask me to do. But we all know that customers want increasingly hyper-relevant experiences, right? And now there's this like added element of AI. How do we use AI to do that? I actually think this is a massive opportunity as well, because if you're in email marketing or lifecycle marketing, whatever you want to call it, right? What you're basically doing is sending messages to users on an automated schedule based on certain triggers from the product or from your website or from purchase behavior, right? That's all domain expertise that a lot of people wish they had. The extra challenge is just how do you leverage AI to make that easier and better? I actually don't know the answer to that question. Maybe someone will figure that out and talk about that next year. So these are the challenges and these are the opportunities that face Lifecycle. Seems great, right? Why doesn't everybody have a super impactful Lifecycle team? Why didn't every hand go up in the building? Why isn't everyone wanting to be a Lifecycle marketer, right? The biggest reason why is that a lot of people miss the forest for the trees when it comes to Lifecycle. So stick with me, this is gonna be a little bit of a labored analogy. We tend to treat our individual marketing channels like they're trees. So if you're an email marketer, if you're a social media marketer, if you're a push marketer, right? You are focused on making that tree strong and healthy. You're watering it, you're pruning away the limbs that need to go away. You're hyper-focused on that one tree. But to be really good at Lifecycle and to make Lifecycle impactful, you have to think about the entire forest. And the forest is made up of all those different trees, right? So a tree is a channel. So stick with me on this example. If you send an email to a customer, right, that's advertising like a sweatshirt, they click on that email, then they go to your website. So now they've interacted with your email channel, now they're on your website channel. They're browsing the website. They see on the website that there's links to go to a social media page, so they go check out Instagram. Now they're on social, that's the third channel. They bounce back to your website. They have a question about the quality of the product or the return policy, so they go bounce over to the support area of the website. Maybe they're in a live chat with a support agent, right? That's 4 channels that a user interacts with before they've even decided to make that purchase. That is way more than that individual email, right? And we tend to think, because we're so hyper-indexed on our own channels that we manage, our trees, that one of those channels can kind of carry the weight for the others. That's not how customers think, right? Think about the totality of experiences. So if they get a really great email, no pun intended, and then they go to a website and it's really hard to complete the purchase, they're not like, oh shit, well, I'll make the purchase anyways because the email is great, right? No, it's not how that works. Maybe there's some people that do that, maybe some people in this room. For the majority of people, it's the totality, right? And that's what the big opportunity is with Lifecycles. How do you create a totality of experiences that help users get done what they want to do? This is the slide I'm most proud of ever in my life. I think it's really cool. Let me see if I can explain it in a cool way. So in order to focus on customer experiences and that totality, right, you need to shift your thinking from input-based to output-based. So what is input-based thinking? Who is like an email marketer in this room? Raise your hands. Okay, cool. That's the number of hands I want to see next year when I talk about Lifecycle. So if you're an email marketer, this is what you're thinking about, right? You're thinking, what are the inputs I'm putting in front of customers and what are the outputs I'm getting? And your inputs are often email, right? So how do you measure emails? Opens, clicks, down funnel metrics, people purchasing, visiting the website. That's great. You need to pay attention to that type of stuff. But if you focus on inputs, you're going to miss the biggest opportunity here, which is actually focusing on this output, which is what you want is happy customers. If you can get this, everything else flows from it. But the way to get happy customers is not sending more emails. We all know that, right? It's not having a better website. It's creating solutions for your customers, right? So to go back to that website example I was talking about, the sweatshirt, the solution you want to provide is a dead simple purchasing experience. From email to website to support page to social media, you want that to be the easiest experience so that customers are begging you to give you their money, right, to complete their purchase. The only way you can do that is actually focus on the solution. And the solution is a really easy purchasing experience. Second slide I'm very proud of. When you focus on solutions and you think about Lifecycle, you can actually start to put yourself in the center of your company, become very influential of what happens everywhere. And I know that we have those headache stories of, oh my God, I'm so good at marketing, but like, would you believe what the sales team sends out? Or like, have you seen the product? The product is really terrible, right? The big opportunity sitting in front of Lifecycle today is connecting all these lines of business and being the person that creates the solution-oriented focus for everybody else. This is obviously very hard to do, and I'm kind of simplifying it a little bit, right? It's gonna be really hard to move heaven and earth to get your sales team to change or get your product team to listen to you. But this team, your CX team, is where you can start to build this relationship and start to build this perspective within your own companies. So let's talk about CX. Lifecycle and CX, wow. Who knows what a CX team is? Raise of hands. A good number of people. CX, this term came about a few years ago. I don't know what we used to call them, but like, it's customer support and it's customer success, right? They have a nice, cool branding. I really like a CX sort of thing, but this is the team that you should start engaging with if you want to get involved in Lifecycle and you want to grow your Lifecycle team. Most people have engaged with customer support, right? They're agents, they're responding to customer tickets. So you write in, I need help with XYZ, that generates a ticket. A support agent goes and tries to solve that, right? So think about that feedback loop. That is purely reactive. Customer support can only respond to customers when a ticket is generated. That's not bad, but that's just the nature of how they're set up. The way the customer support teams are measured is tickets solved over time. So you want your customer support team to be very efficient, right? People write in, they get an answer really quick. That provides, again, no pun intended, a better customer experience. And then customer support teams increasingly are focused on the costs of goods and services which is just if we have to employ a lot of support people, which a lot of teams do, that cost adds up really quickly. So then it's even more important to be efficient in time and how tickets get solved. Customer success, people know CSMs, right? Or most people have interacted with the CSMs. They're focused really on one thing, which is meeting with customers. The best CSMs will be proactive about their level of support. They'll understand what you're trying to use their product for. They'll give you those answers. They'll help you develop a roadmap. But let's be real, right? A lot of CSMs are more reactive to you. You come to them with problems. They try to solve them, right? That's okay, but that's just the nature of the beast, and that's important to understand. CSMs, they're focused on meetings over time, so they have a book of business. How often can I meet my clients on a semi-regular basis so we have semi-relevant conversations, right? And then the best CSMs will be focused on customer retention. If I'm meeting with these customers, they should stick around with us for longer. They should be happy customers. So I said CX team, now we know them. There's 3 super easy things that lifecycle teams can do to make CX teams' lives easier. And by making CX teams' lives easier, you're starting to center solutions within your organizations, you're creating happy customers, and you create this flywheel effect where now you're building this really strong partnership with the CX team, which gives you the credibility to go build partnerships with other teams. So what are those 3 super easy things to do? Like I said, customer support, they want to solve customer tickets. That's what they're focused on, but ultimately they want less of those tickets. So how can you make that happen? You can better onboard your customers to your product, to your website, to your brand. And it's this thing that I think about, what I call the healthy customer principle, right? It's much cheaper and easier to make a new customer successful and healthy than save an at-risk customer. Healthy customers submit less support tickets, they're easier to handle, their questions are usually a lot easier to solve for, and they're not just like ragingly pissed off at you, right? So what happens when you have better onboarding? At ClickUp, what we've seen is a 23% reduction in customer tickets from onboarding users in a better way. That results literally in millions of dollars by the end of the year. And it makes our support team more efficient because they have less tickets to deal with. So the ones they have, they can focus more on. That is a super easy thing that you can start doing for your customer support team, and they will love you if you do it. Second thing you can do, so I said customer support is like mostly reactive, right? Well, it's actually not true. A new thing that we're seeing more companies do is proactively extending support to their user base and embedding those opportunities within like automated email journeys or product journeys. This is actually a really cool idea because if you can give somebody the opportunity to engage with you before they have questions, they're gonna be healthier and better customers. And we actually see this played out through a lot of different brands and industries. So Wonder Valley, I looked at this morning, it's a bath like kit set thing, right? So it's really interesting what they're doing here. As an e-commerce brand, they're telling you, they're doing 2 things actually with customer support. They're asking you, do you still have questions? Come talk to us, right? They wanna get ahead of any possible customer questions, but they're also leveraging their customer support team to make the sale, right? We as like digital marketers sending emails, this is an awesome thing that you can start to get to do, and it gets in front of those customer problems, and it also gets you to generate more revenue, right? That's a really interesting example. Daring, I think this is like B2C. They're telling you like, hey, you got a question, text us, literally. Anytime, we're here to help you. That is a way that they're proactively extending support without you needing to raise your hand for it. And then of course, ClickUp, here's our VP of customers. What we do is when someone adds a lot of team members right away, we know that usually generates a lot of questions. We don't wait to get the customer tickets. We say, hey, come talk to us right now. We'll help you onboard those users. We'll help you make them successful, right? What we've seen in doing that strategy, and I'll explain what this metric is in a few slides. For now, just know that we've seen a massive increase in customer retention and the revenue we generate from our customer base by just extending these opportunities to engage with support in these journeys. Okay, last thing that you can do with the CX team. You could leverage data to automate meaningful interactions. So CSMs are great, but what they're not great at is looking at customer data and saying, okay, this person has done X, Y, Z in product. That's a reason why I should talk to them, right? They actually don't have access to like Iterable or any email marketing tools. And they're kind of going on feeling of when's the best time to reach out to a customer. That is a huge opportunity for anybody in this room that has access to that data that can send those emails You can go to your CSMs and you can go to your CSM leaders and say, hey, what if instead of you trying to book meetings with customers, I get customers to book meetings with you? I don't know anybody else that's doing this, so I'll draw an example from ClickUp. We send this email. We see that they're actively using ClickUp, book a call with our team. We saw a 30% increase in customer meetings booked. It's crazy. The best thing about this is CSMs have meetings show up on their calendars. They're spending more time doing the things that as CSM they're uniquely qualified to do, which is meeting with customers, thinking about customers. They're not sending emails to try to get customer meetings. If you do one or all of these three things, going to your CX team and saying, hey, I've got this idea, think we can do this? Start small, but this is the way that you can build this partnership. And it really turns into a flywheel where you're making healthier customers, you're helping the support team more, you're freeing up the support team to answer less tickets, to not have to go look for customer meetings. They will then give you more of their time to run tests and experiments like this. And it really turns into this awesome flywheel where then the lifecycle team is not only driving marketing, well, they're driving customer outcomes, right? It's getting you really close to that ideal outcome of driving solutions for your customers. Okay, so that's like what I think of future state lifecycle. This is what I wish someone would have told me like 3 years ago. Again, back to like, there's a lot of bullshit when it comes to lifecycle. There's so much that you can do that it's overwhelming. This is what I call foundational lifecycle. It's 3 things. If you do them well, you gain a lot of credibility within your teams, you help your customers, and you build the internal goodwill at your company to then go to teams like the CX team or the sales team or the product team and say, hey, I have an idea of how to engage our customers, right? But you got to do these things really well. So the first thing in foundational lifecycle is adoption. What is adoption? At like the basic level, it's explaining your product and showing the value of that product. So let's walk through a few examples of how you can do this. So this, Sundays, is like a healthy alternative dog food company. If you're buying this type of thing, you're like really bought into the idea of being like a healthy dog food parent, doggo parent. I don't know what the word is for it anymore. And you want to like be part of a community of people that feel the same way as you. Well, what's the easiest way to do that? I guess you can't really read this, but it says, join us on Instagram. They're telling their users to help drive adoption, meet other like-minded people like you, right? They're even getting their community to sell and show that initial value, which is really smart. Back in the day, Matt and I used to work for Dragon. It was crazy for many different reasons. Think about like Dragon is like a sunglass brand, right? How many sunglass brands are there? Like literally 1 million. So why would you ever buy from Dragon at all or any other one, right? It's because you connect with the brands. So what are they trying to do? They're trying to get you to read their brand story. This is like one of their first intro emails they send, and they're trying to get you to realize the value via the brand, right? Super smart. And then on the far end of the spectrum, we have New Era. New Era is like, fuck it. You know what's really valuable? Us giving our products to you for less than you think they would cost. You can't read it, but they're giving you a promo code. That's the quickest way to get somebody to adopt your product is to give it to them for either free or very little or less than expected, right? And then finally, we have a ClickUp example. This email is talking all about tasks. Tasks are like the nucleus of our product. You have to understand how tasks work to get ClickUp. When we've nailed adoption with our users, we've seen a 30% increase in product stickiness. That means that every single week, these users are coming back and having meaningful interactions with us. That is the first thing that you can do in foundational life cycles adoption. The second is retention. This looks really complicated. I will try to explain it. I will explain it to the best of my ability, but retention is just like using data and automation to create deeper customer experiences. So I said way back how important retention is, right? Like you need to be able to keep a customer around for a long time in order to recoup your investment from them, from acquiring them, and to realize more value from those customers. So what did we do? We built this thing called the feature engagement matrix. Like us, we're a SaaS product. We have like literally 50 different features. We know that there's like 12 really important ones, right? And each feature also has like levels that you can use it at. So you can be like a beginner user, you can be a more advanced user. What we know is that if you use a lot of our features and that you go deep in your usage of those features, you're a healthier, more retained customer. So what did we do? We built this really seemingly complex, but at its heart, very simple email automation that every single week we look at each user and say, Which feature have they used or have not used, right? This is feature breadth. And then we send them an email advertising a feature that they haven't used yet. Or if we know that they've used tasks and they're an intermediate task user, we try to get them to use tasks at an advanced level. And we kind of go like this. We go like this across the feature engagement matrix with the ultimate idea that everybody lands here. They're an advanced user on most features. This is like pretty brand new for us. We launched this a few months ago. I don't have super sexy stats to say, but what I can share is that this is working. And the way we know that this is working is that users that are receiving this compared to a group that's in our control segment, right? They're not receiving any of these emails. They have much higher product usage metrics, which means that they're coming, they're using the product for what it's intended to do. And there's nothing cooler than sending emails saying, use your product for this. And then you see more users using your product to do that. Okay, last thing in foundational lifecycle is reactivation. So you can nail adoption, you can nail reactivation, but inevitably people are going to tune out. They're not going to want to engage with you. They're going to stop using. This just is like the natural law of things, right? So what should you do? You should develop simple, key emphasis on simple and scalable programs to get some of those users back. Not all, but some, right? So let's walk through a few examples of how this can be done. Everlane, right? E-commerce, fashion. You bought from us before. Hey, check out these like 5 really popular products. It's a pretty low effort email to send, but it's high probability of success because if you've purchased from Everlane, you're probably interested in like one of these 5 pillar emails. So let's fire that off and see what happens, right? Venmo, they release new features. So what should you do when you release new features? You should advertise those. And maybe somebody stopped using Venmo because it didn't have the features that they wanted. So now they're trying to get people back by advertising the new features that they have. And then Hulu, just like New Era, I love it, is like, again, fuck it. You know what's a really easy way to get people back? 1 month free. There's not much thought that was involved in this email. I mean, the design is pretty, but like the strategy is very simple, right? Give people stuff for free. It's not new, it's not novel, but this kind of thing works. And I bet what Hulu knows is that if they give a month away for free, they usually get the customers to stay around for like 3 or more months, right? And then ClickUp. You haven't logged in for 2 weeks. We'll send you an overview of all the stuff you've missed since you've logged in, kind of drawing on FOMO. When we've sent this email, we've seen a 5% increase in reactivation, which means that every single week, hundreds of users are coming back, which means that over time, hundreds of thousands of users are coming back to use our platform. This email is super ugly, didn't take too much thought to go into it, but this is driving like significant wins for our business and for our lifecycle team, which is exactly what reactivation is all about. Like I said, like foundational lifecycle is really at its core adoption, retention, reactivation. If you do those 3 things well, it's like 95% of the job. Gives you the opportunity to grow, to try to expand to other teams, to focus on those customer solutions and outputs like I was talking about. Okay, it wouldn't be a talk without talking about metrics. So I threw a lot of numbers at you guys, adoption, reactivation rate. This is the metric that you should try to measure yourself on when you're thinking about lifecycle. It's called net dollar retention. Looks complicated, but really what it's saying is NDR is equal to what is the revenue you got from your like very beginning of customers, what's that initial purchase revenue, plus new revenue that you've gotten from them. So did they purchase more products? Did they add more seats, whatever? And then take away revenue that they've contracted from you, which is downgrading plans, reducing seats, or canceling altogether. The reason why I love this metric and why I'm convinced everybody should measure themselves on it is it's dead simple to interpret. Green is good, red is bad, right? NDR at a basic level is at 100%. That's just what beginning ARR, beginning revenue looks like. If ARR grows above 100%, that means you're retaining and expanding your customers. If it's below 100%, that means you're bleeding out, right? You're churning and you're contracting your customers. Having one number to say, are we growing or are we contracting, is super powerful in business when there's millions of metrics you can look at. This is one way to look at NDR. This is uncohorted. You could pull NDR and look at a specific segment. So people that purchase a lot based on region, any other sort of characteristic. But the way I think you should really look at it is in this kind of confusing way, but will become apparent in just a second. So this is called cohorted NDR, right? And if you don't look at your metrics cohorted, whether it's NDR or not, I highly encourage you to do that. Cohorts are really powerful because you can usually break them out by when they became a customer, so that's what this is. And then you start looking for all the customers that purchased in January. How does their NDR change over time, right? So like I said, month 0, everyone's at 100. In a good situation, NDR is growing over time. In a bad situation, NDR is shrinking over time. Why this type of analysis is super valuable to you in Lifecycle and email, whatever, right? Is then you can pinpoint exact months, like maybe March was super strong, right? But July was really weak. So what happened, right? You can go retrace your steps and figure out what were we doing well, how can we reproduce that, and then conversely, what wasn't going well, how can we fix that? Wrapping up, 4 things I want people to try to take away today. So understand the opportunity for Lifecycle, right? And anchor it to the challenges that exist right now for all of your companies. Payback is expensive, AI automation, and retention is the most important thing you can be doing, right? Focus on outputs and focus on solutions for your customers. What are the actual experiences we want them to have, not just like the channels we're putting in front of them? CX, try to build this partnership. These are gonna be your best friends. If you can nail this, you can reproduce building this partnership with your sales, your product, your website team, whoever it is. And then foundational lifecycle, those 3 things, adoption, retention, reactivation. If you do them well, it helps make these other 3 things happen, I guess in a much easier way, right? Or at least that's how I think about it. So that's it. Thanks everybody for your time.